and
Yes,
talk
I
about
appreciate
it.
that. 'Cause I haven't been home.
And then I just thought I'd give us some thoughts to the discussion that comes after minutes.
I didn't get to see that.
Well, no, I didn't send it. It's
Okay.
just, I'm going to follow this outline. I was trying to figure out how to structure the discussion. So
Okay.
Awesome. All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order at, according to this clock, 6:03 p.m. A review of the agenda. We have quite a few minutes to approve from June and one in July. Librarian's report, treasurer's report. We'll review the New Hampshire Charitable Trust information about the Myatt Trust request, discussion of the next steps. We've got an update on the status of the Select Board inquiry for installation of a well and septic tank system. We'll do some preparation for the joint meeting that we'll be having on August 21st with the Select Board to consult them about the plans for the new library. And CCI update, new business, citizens comments next meeting. So I want to just say that please, before you speak, give me the opportunity to call on you. I'd like to get the trustee discussion and then glad to take any comments after we have that. So I'd ask that you raise your hand to be recognized, and let's all try to keep it with respect and love for our Cornish community here. Okay, so that next on the agenda is the approval of the June minutes. And the first minutes to be approved are the June 12th minutes. And they were quite extensive. And I only had a few updates, most of which were grammatical. So for example, instead of lumped in, deposited.
Deposit, yeah, it may have been like,
Yeah.
I hadn't gone back and deleted it, well,
So
yeah.
a lot of these, as you review this, you can see the changes that were made, and I did put them here. Everything I changed is
Okay.
highlighted.
Yeah, let's
And a
talk.
few things, liaison.
Liaison, yeah.
And there were some grammatical things.
Why did you?
have a correction.
Okay,
Also.
Kathy, please.
When it says the funds were held onto until the vote in August of 2021,
Where are you?
I'm on number 6
Yep,
and down near the bottom of my page.
okay.
On
Yes,
08/20/2020, there was payment made out of the building fund for the septic design, $2,500. So we didn't hold on to the funds until August of 2021.
Was that said at the meeting? Because this is for minutes. Was that
yes,
just-
it says there though, Kathy, that the funds were held on to until the vote in August 2021 about the well.
But that's not accurate. They were spent on August 8th, 2020.
Okay, so it's.
That was the septic and well design.
And that was the $2,500.
That was the $2,500.
August in 2020.
Yes.
Okay. Why did you strike, the intent was clear due to the time frame?
So it's my
And-
understanding that it's absolutely true that the time of the Mayotte donation was the only option for the funds to go toward the store library at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't remember Kathy stating that she felt the intent was clear due to the time frame.
I will say I paraphrased intent, only because it was a lot worse. And I believe what you said was at that time the only option was the Soul Library. It was, I
Just
don't
leave
have
it
my
at that.
notebook because I
Which
left
is-
it
which
at
is
home,
that.
but Mr. Mayette, you recorded that, didn't you?
Last meeting?
Yeah, you're on here for the June 12th meeting, correct?
Yes.
So, did you record that?
Did I say the intent was
Well,
clear
we'd have
due
to
to
re-
the time
we'd
frame?
have to
Could you
review.
review your,
Yeah.
and send us the section of that discussion, not the whole meeting, but could you send us that section of the discussion so we know what it was that Kathy said?
I believe you said you posted it to YouTube. Could you send us the URL for that?
Yeah, I think so.
So that would be,
I mean,
Okay, and we could just-
You're not asking for it right now, right?
No.
No, no,
Okay, yeah.
definitely not right now.
Yeah.
Because Kathy did make it clear that it was evident that was Peg's intent, because it was
Yes.
2020 and there was no other
Right,
option.
there
at
was
the
no
time.
other option.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just thought that
okay.
it's a little misleading because it seems to say that it goes to the building, to this building only. And that's not
Because it
clear.
was the only option
Right, which-
at the time.
Which is to say that the only, and we've already said that in the first phrase, Kathy stated at the time of Miss Myatt's donation, the only option for the funds was to go to the Stoller Library.
Mhm.
That's the essence of what was said.
Mhm.
And the intent part was not. Leads to some other conclusion.
The intent, I guess, you could look at it as speculation, but
Yeah,
I'm sure if there were two buildings,
There wasn't then.
if there were two buildings.
There wasn't then, so her intent was very clear at the time she made the donation.
And if there were two buildings for her to make the decision between, I feel that Peg would have
We
made
don't know.
that decision.
but that's what we
We
don't
don't
know,
know.
and that's why that statement is inappropriate.
Okay.
So I motion that we strike the second phrase in that sentence. Do I have a second?
Second,
I don't think we should vote on it until we get
Okay.
Brian's video to
Okay,
know what
so-
was actually said. Is
So
that
Kathy,
okay?
yeah, Kathy, do you want to,
I'll rescind my second.
okay, so we'll wait for the video on that one.
Yes, please.
Okay, the second one, I mean, other than this.
Strongly?
Just,
Yes.
I don't believe that Kathy agreed that returning the money was the right thing to do.
You said that out loud.
That it was the right thing to do.
I specifically
I
remember you
believe I
saying-
said that there were other donations in that fund, so that returning the balance would have to be, I don't know, percentages maybe, but that it was not, we needed to get more advice, and that's when Heidi said that we needed to get the,
Right, and that was, I used the word strongly because Heidi actually referenced that 5 or 6 times.
the New Hampshire Charitable Trust.
And that's why I used the word strongly recommended. I'm sorry, Kathy, I disagree because I remember agreeing with you.
Well, let's find out.
I was
what
gonna
the
say
video-
Brian has it, so,
All right, so since we've
Is
got
there
at
a
least two.
question about what was said?
Yes.
yes.
So if there are two, what Kathy said, Kathy doesn't, I don't remember Kathy saying these things. Kathy doesn't believe she said these things. So
That it was-
She
we
said
will,
what?
That returning
That
the
we'll
money was
review.
the right thing to do.
So
I
we'll
don't remember saying that.
so we'll review the tape and then we'll know for
We'll
sure.
find out.
And then we'll know how to correct the
Okay.
minutes.
If you're asking, I can tell you my impression.
But no, we don't want,
No, we want the
we have
verbiage.
3
We need
impressions
the verbiage.
now, so we need to go
And
to
I'm
sections.
very sorry, I will apologize to everyone. I left my handwritten notes at home because my week has been super fun. So
So,
I don't actually have the written notes that I took
all right, so
regarding
then,
what Kathy said. So I think, and also having like a, video transcript of it would be advantageous.
okay, so my request would be to review the other
Yep.
and see what, and then we will table the approval of the minutes until the next meeting,
Please.
okay?
Thank you.
So if you want to put that in your, in your minutes now. Table pending review of the transcript of the meeting as provided by Brian Mayette.
Okay.
Okay, all right, so that's that set of minutes. And the next set of minutes, June 18th. And I believe the only correction to be made in those minutes was on June 4th, I'm sorry, point 4, the motion was only voted on by the trustees. So that last sentence should read, the motion passed with 2 yes votes, Marie and Kathy, and 1 no vote, Laura. And I believe that the copy that's on the town website already has this correction.
I believe it does.
I had made that correction,
yeah,
because I
you
think
sent
I'm the
it
one
in.
that sent
But
it
we
in.
haven't
It's
officially
true.
approved that. So
Okay.
I move that we amend the June 18th minutes as, or that we approve them
That
as
was
amended.
Okay.
Do I have a second?
Sure.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And the next one was July 1st, and that was our joint meeting with the select board to discuss the possible installation of a well and septic system in the library. Are there any amendments to these minutes as?
I think that's fine, because that was just the two of us. It was just.
No, this is our joint meeting. The one that preceded it that allowed the next one to happen.
The 6/18 was the joint meeting. 6/18 was the joint meeting, 7/1 was the joint meeting.
You were on vacation.
6/18 was the joint.
Oh, okay, all right, so sorry, so you approved this one?
I think,
As-
yeah.
Yep, that's the 7/1.
Okay.
That's pretty cut and dry.
All right, and we have our July 24th minutes.
I think it's the 25th.
Yeah, I think it's the 25th.
Yeah, I was sick at that time. Let's do that because it was sent out as the 24th. So let's check that and make sure that.
It's on the
that is-
website, it's the 25th, and I think it's in the book, it's the 25th. I can check the book.
Yeah.
It's the 24th because it's the day after my birthday.
Ah, now there's.
Well,
It's
then.
on a Tuesday, the meeting is on a Wednesday.
It was, yes, you're right, it was Wednesday.
Okay, so that's correct then. Any changes or amendments to this?
No.
Okay, so they
Kathy?
No, it's fine.
move that we approve? You can just.
I move.
Second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay. All right, next is librarian's report, and we do not have a report from our librarian, so we'll skip over that. And then the next one is the treasurer's report. Kathy has sent us, the trustees, something ahead of time to look at.
The facts and figures are there, but you know what? I didn't bring a copy.
I did, here,
Okay.
here you go.
All right, this isn't, this is, I do have a copy of this for everyone. That's the one that shows what's been spent on appropriations, but I had sent an email that had checking account balance, building fund
Oh,
balance.
yeah, that little thing inserted
That
in
little
it.
thing that was
Okay.
in the email, but I
Okay.
didn't print a copy of it.
Okay, but that's okay. You want me to?
I can look it up, if anybody wants to know. The balance in the checkbook is $12,030.96. Building fund hasn't changed, other than interest. Donation hasn't changed, other than the last figures you had. Non-lapsing fund, we spent 175, no, it was more than that. It was the Simon Brooks, but it was Tasker money, and the amount of Tasker money now has been spent other than 3 cents. I don't know what to do with that 3 cents. Oh, good, building fund. You want me to read this?
If, we
Anybody
got it in
wanna
an
know?
email, we'll know, anybody want to know the
Okay.
details? We've already read it.
14,000 as of 7/31/24, $14,729.63. Checkbook balance I read. Donation fund savings, $1,556.84. Non-lapsing fund. Now, the non-lapsing fund is money that is non-donation money. It's like money from the copier, money from book sale, money from book fines, which we don't do anymore. That kind of money that is sent to us from the town that was not used for payroll. That is $2,730.07. Palmer Fund is, again, that was a donation given by the Palmer family, Marjorie Palmer, and it was $1,000, 1,000 years ago, that was to be used, the interest to buy science and history books. But we have earned $7.06, so that doesn't buy very much. We just keep waiting. The Tasker grant balance, 7/31/2024, was 3 cents. So, thank you.
Okay.
I'm glad someone was paying attention.
Any
I wasn't.
questions from the trustees on that? Lorraine? Any questions from the?
Yes, I have one.
Go ahead.
I believe you said the balance available now is $12,000. Some odd.
That's in the checking account, is $12,030. $12,030.96. That's the checking account.
And was that 14 a month?
No, that's
ago?
building fund. The
That's-
building
okay.
fund is a separate savings account. That's where all of the allocations, like that's where the Mayette donation went, that's where the Callahan donation went, that's where $7 from the fund drive box went, that is where $150 from Liggett donation went. So it's all lumped together in that account.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So you have a lot of different accounts. Which ones do you, I'm getting at, because I'm the treasurer for the Plainfield libraries, and we have recently said, okay, well, we're not going to spend this money, and we're putting it in really high interest-bearing accounts, and I would love to see Cornish do this, because...
The reason it's in these accounts is because we use it.
Okay,
So if you put it in
all
a,
right, so it's always coming and
Yeah,
going.
yeah.
Okay. So you never have like enough slush that you can earn
not
money?
really, not really.
Okay.
I mean,
Thank
if
you for
we
the
have, like
suggestion.
right now, we may run over on our phone bills, because our phone bills, we allocated that at $50 a month. And my last two bills were like $95.
Really?
Yeah.
I have one last question and I'll shut up. The $12,000, where does that money come from? Is that donation?
The $12,000 is the town donation, the town appropriation we request at town meeting.
Okay, yeah.
And any balance that is left over as of December 31st, 2023. And that's pretty much, if we take money out of our trust fund, which again, the trust fund is the Stoll Library. When he died, he donated $10,000 in trust. The interest we can use for maintenance, repairs, whatever the library needs to use it for. But what has happened is that when they started, apparently there's a thing with capital gains. So there's money set aside in that above $10,000, this is the treasurer explained it to me, but I still don't understand. But there's a capital gains amount of money in there that can't be used. So it's still just the interest, where we were able to use the interest every year. If you go back in the records and look, that interest was used every year to offset the town appropriation. But there's not enough in there to do that anymore. There's maybe $100, $200 in there. So we wait till it builds up and then ask again.
And where does that money sit?
And the trustees of the trust funds are in charge of that. We as trustees have no control. That's a trust that they manage and invest, I guess. That explain it?
Sort of, kind of.
Any more on the treasurer's report?
No. Oh, yes, a $20 donation.
Oh,
Nice.
Someone had a very, very, very overdue book and they just put $20 in.
Okay. All right. So next item on the agenda is review of the New Hampshire Charitable Trust information. So this is where I put a little follow the dot thing for you all in your packet there. So to reiterate, Kathy received an email from Brian Mayette on behalf of Brian and Brenda Mayette, the trustees of the Mayette Living Trust, requesting that, saying that disapproving of the way some of the funding had been spent and asking, quote, we would like the remaining funds to be returned. So that was the request. The trustees' response at our last meeting was to have a motion to contact the New Hampshire Charitable Trust for a ruling. And we did that. We had said we would do it in a letter, and I composed an email and consulted with the trustees, and that was sent. It took a while, but we got a response via email from the charitable trust recommendation, and that recommendation was, quote, "I recommend that the town consider contacting its attorney regarding whether the town should file a petition for CPRE with respect to the MIAC funds, and whether any funds should be spent should be restored to that fund." So what I think we were hoping was that the New Hampshire Charitable Trust would just make a ruling and say, yes, return the funds, or no, you're able to retain the funds. But that was not what they did, because by both the Mayette's request and I think probably our preferences too, didn't want to have to bring a lawyer into this, right? But we're not going to be able to avoid that. So, so then the question is, then what do we do, since we don't have a ruling from them except that they recommend that we consult the lawyer? So my suggestion is, my proposal is, under next trustee action, that we hold further conversations with the New Hampshire Trust to clarify the issue. And I think maybe we invite them to have a conversation with the three of us so that we can bring everything forward. And then the other thing is to clarify that if and when we do need an attorney, or the town's attorney, that we hold a conversation with them before they speak to the trust, so they can understand all the issues involved, rather than just have the town council contact the New Hampshire Trust. We want them to talk with us so we can tell them the story.
I just have a question or a recommendation, and I'm not sure it's possible.
Let me have you wait till I'm finished this then. It's my understanding too, and I need to verify this because I'm not sure of this, that as we are elected officials by the town, that the funds for the town attorney would not come from the library funds, but from the town would be responsible for paying
There's
that
no
fund.
funding in that appropriation for lawyer fees. So, and that's, if that's the town if that's the New Hampshire Charitable Trust recommendation, then one thing I think we need to clarify with them, when they talk about trustees, they don't really say, it's very confusing how they wrote this, but I think when they're talking in the first part of their letter about trustees, they are talking about the Mayette Trust trustees.
Right.
And then it seems as if they start talking about Michael first getting in touch with them with about a cypre. And that had nothing to do with the Mayette money and the building fund money. That was a request made by Michael to find out what the cypre process was, because this was a donated building for use as a library. So what Michael was finding out is, okay, if that went through, because that was before that vote, if that went through, how do we take this building out of the Stoll Trust with the cypre? But we also added on to that, there is the $10,000 will donation that Stoll made, and that was also part of Michael's request. How do we access those funds, and is it possible? And that's when their answer came about the cypre, and we agree, New Hampshire Charitable Trust. In other words, there's a whole new list of people down there that don't know how this went down. So what the lady had said that was in charge at that point is that the two options that Michael presented, one, rent this building to the Historical Society, or kind of give it outright the same way that they gave the Selectman's office. And then you would have to do a separate cypre for changing the dedication of the $10,000 will. So that's where that came from, just as a way of having information, and that was not commissioned by the library trustees. That was commissioned by the New Library Coalition that Michael was working with. He sent the letter to us, but we did not pay for it and we did not request it. So somewhere in the New Hampshire Charitable Trust, the new people on board have confused that.
Okay. So thank you for that background information, and that's why my recommendation is that we hold a further
Yeah.
conversation so that they, with them. And at that point, if they're able to make a recommendation without us using the town lawyer, fine. If we need to use the town lawyer, then we should approach the town. I want to make sure the select board says, yeah, it's okay, go ahead, it's a town expense, and then we can talk to the town lawyer about it.
Yes.
Is that?
And again, it may have to wait until next voting cycle in March to come up in a budget somewhere. In other words, I don't think you can just pull money out.
I know with town welfare stuff, I've used the town attorney, I think twice during the time that I've been for sticky stuff. And there was never an issue.
Okay, well, there
And
is
the town
some
would
money
just
in
pay
the
for it.
budget for lawyer fees.
Mhm.
You know, it's in the book.
And other town
Yeah.
elected officials have
Yeah.
been able to tap into those funds.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's important for certain things. You know, I don't think you can just do it whenever you feel like it. And of course, you know, Board of Selectmen I let them know that I do really need to contact an
Yeah.
attorney about this decision, so.
So, Mr. Mann, I hope that you hear that what we're trying to do is get a ruling, okay, so that we are going to go back to them and say, okay, here's the situation, and can you make a ruling based on this, or do we need to have the attorneys go with this? Okay, so we are pursuing this to the best of our ability. So I'd like to make, I want to make a motion here, but I want to recognize Marilyn first.
I just had a thought. The town is a member in the New Hampshire Municipal Association, and they are a bucket full of attorneys. Many different attorneys with many different fields of expertise. We already pay an annual fee to be a member, so before you spend money going to a town attorney, make a call to the Municipal Association, explain the situation, and get some input from them. It's another direction. I'd almost do that before I spoke to the Charitable Trust Division.
Okay.
And that is a valuable resource, but in my experience, Marilyn, when I've contacted them for specific legal information, they're not there for that. They more just sort of send you to the right place, but they don't really give true legal advice.
Advice or rulings.
It's, right.
Well,
they more just sort of.
When I was in the office, they would certainly give very good advice. They don't come in and defend you as attorneys, but they can certainly tell you best practice and historical perspective, and that can be very helpful before you invest
Spend
in an
money.
attorney.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, would you all authorize me to contact them?
NHMA?
The Municipal Association?
Yeah,
And, because I think when we go to the Charitable Trust, we ought to talk to them together.
yeah,
But I can see what information I get from them and report back from you.
yeah.
Okay.
And see where we should go from there?
And then and then our next step too, let's go ahead and say that, so we don't have to meet again to approve a next step. The step after that would be asking for a meeting from
With
the trust, because we've got to get them on the same page. So does that work out for you in terms of a motion, or you want me to write it out?
No, that works.
Okay,
You
so
all
do I have a second to the motion?
Can I ask a question before you make a motion? Or no?
Oh, I'm sorry, Alicia, go ahead.
So I guess maybe I'm missing a piece of the information, but I've looked into the Mayette situation myself. And in 2020, Peggy Mayette came before the select board and wanted to donate $30,000. Am I right so far?
Yes.
In 2020, there was no other library. And so I guess I'm confused as to why the trustees are having such a hard time as to whether or not to decide what Miss Mayette's intent was.
Okay.
Please don't interrupt me, Laura, I don't interrupt you.
All right,
But no,
wait, this
can I
is
finish?
irrelevant
Can
to
I-
our motion. No, I'm gonna rule you out of order at the minute. You may say whatever you want to say after this motion is made, okay? All right, so there's a motion on the floor. All in favor?
What was it?
Authorize Laura to contact New Hampshire Municipal Association for
Before we-
legal advice
Before we meet with CTU.
and
correct?
then meet with the New Hampshire Humanities
And that would be
Council.
shared with all three of us?
Yeah.
Okay.
So further on our things here are facts to be considered, and this is addressing what Alicia said, so.
Can I finish my comment, please?
I would rather that we continue with this before you do that because it's relevant to what your comment was, okay? And then I'll be happy to take your comments after that. I don't think that there's any doubt that at the time of the donation, the intent of the fund was, the gift was to fund the renovations for this building that were proposed. There was a thing up at the town meeting. That was the only option at that time. So there's no doubt at the time of the donation that was done. At the time of the donation, no one was talking about a new library, right? That was the only way to help out the library at that time was to make that donation, and it would only have gone as if it was marked for renovation.
And it was not specified, she did not specify when she wrote her little note. She said,
I've got it right here.
donation toward the
Update the library in memory of. That's all the documentation, the written documentation that came with the check.
With no other option.
So at the time of donation, that was the only plan. So after the 2021 town meeting, the exploratory committee was formed by the select board to study the feasibility of accepting the donation of the former Cornish store as a library. Mrs. Mayette, and with Brian was always with her, attended several meetings where the new library building was discussed.
Wait, what was that?
You brought your mother to several meetings where your mother was present at several meetings where,
No.
yes, you were.
She was present at least one, because I remember she sat in the front row and she was having trouble hearing, and you asked or we asked if she was okay with spending money, and she said yes. So there was nothing written, there was nothing in the notes about it, other than that you attended a meeting. So
I was not at
several
every
meetings, it
single
was one
exploratory
meeting.
meeting.
Yeah,
There was a lot.
I did one
I'm
meeting.
sorry.
Well, there were lots of meetings. There were public
Yes,
meetings where we talked about
yes.
plans, and there were
Yes.
several where,
She was only at one meeting that I remember.
And
but-
further, her comment at that meeting was that she didn't hear or understand a single word of what was being said.
Okay.
so
Do you have
at
that?
no time between, this was in town and it was discussed, and at no time between the summer of 2021 and her death a few months ago, did she ever say to any trustee, I don't want my money going to the new library. There was no communication, yet there were several years to make that communication to us about that. Therefore,
Well, she was struggling with a lot of health issues.
the everything that we know about what she said is hearsay, because Kathy remembers her saying she was. There's at least one other person in town who's contacted me to say, I had a conversation with her and she was firmly involved. She was firmly supporting the new library. So
What?
that means that everything we have is hearsay. And I think that's why the motion that we're making is not
What
to
did
go
you
into.
just say about, you had a conversation with my mother?
No, I
Did you say that?
No.
I can't hear you that well.
Did
There are at least two people in town who said they had a conversation who said that your mother expressed that her funds could go to the new library. You say the opposite.
Who are these people?
So therefore, it's hearsay. And I don't want the trustees to make a decision based on hearsay. That's why the motion was made. The motion is made to say, these are the facts as we know them, not mentioning hearsay. What
Check
is,
with the New Hampshire Municipal Association to see
And
what
it's-
they advise,
yeah.
and meet with New Hampshire Charitable Trust to figure out where they're not getting what we have done. They have the facts, but they can then advise us and meet with the lawyer, the town lawyer. It's just gonna be steps
Yeah.
in a process that we have to follow through
and
on.
if the ruling of the trust and is that the funds go back to you, to the trust, then they will go back to the trust. We're not taking anybody to court over this. We're just saying, let's present you the facts and then you all make the decision. I got one more thing, Alicia, and then I'll be glad to have you talk. There was also something mentioned about the letter, about the first letter. And just so I want everybody to be aware of the fact that all conversations and correspondence between the trustee, attorney,
All right, well,
and the trustees are confidential by law. However, you've said that he did not do that on behalf of the
okay.
On behalf of the trustees.
That's
This
trustees
is the,
that
this
are
is the
separate.
letter from the New Hampshire Charitable Trust that they brought up in their, well, this is what Michael said. So,
But you've already explained that. You've
no,
already said that
I
it's-
didn't explain all of it. I did not say that, letter was included as an attachment sent to Richard, Laura, and myself in an email from Mike dated March 14th, 2023. He recommended at that time that it not be distributed. So this is why that letter was not distributed. It was not made public. It was just sent to us. It was Michael in the New Library Coalition. And it was brought up in a trustee meeting. It just said correspondence. It didn't say email. It didn't say letter. It just said correspondence. And that, I don't have it written right here, but it just talks about in case before the warrant article, what Cypre would be.
Okay.
So,
All right, and I guess the other thing to note that I wanted to make clear was that the funds that pertain to gathering information, allowing the town to vote on whether to renovate the Stoll Library or accept the new renovated library. So the funds for the architect and those that went towards the lawyer were all directed as were paid on Heidi's recommendation by the library in order to put the full information before the town. This is what it would cost and what it would look like if we renovated the Stoll Library. Here is what it would cost and look like if we accepted the donation of the renovated store as a library. So the funds were put towards that. And Heidi said at the time, this is appropriate use of your building funds to be able to put this information out for the public. Okay, so we were not saying, so we have been accused of using the funds inappropriately, when in fact the funding request as spent came not from us but from the town treasurer, and it was approved not only by the trustees but also by the exploratory money because they were used in the process of the exploratory committee to present these options for the town.
I agree, but those donations were all put into one account. So it's, there's no information as to what, where,
I
went
have all that.
to all of
I
that.
have all
I could
that.
understand that you have this donation fund where you can spend it as you feel is needed. But if there was a donation, and it was a sizable donation compared to some of the other donations that came in, that to me seemed like it was a specific time period for a specific purpose. Unfortunately, it all got glommed in together and it wasn't kept separate.
And they
And
are.
I think that there's a big rub there.
Okay, so I'm hearing you say you feel like this fund should have been separated. It's not the treasurer's
Right, but
process to
it
separate
wasn't,
those
At
donations.
that
forethought for what
point,
it's
we had
worth,
a
but-
checking account, so I'm not as sorry as a treasurer, I'm not putting $30,000 in a checking account.
I understand that, and
And
that's what
then
I'm
this
saying.
is what the selectmen told me to do with that money.
Put it all together.
No, this is what they told me to do with the $30,000. And it had to be a dual signature account.
Mhm.
So we called it building fund because at that point, that's what it was.
That's what it was.
Was building fund, that was the only option. Now, after that, Liggett donated $150. Well, I didn't have a donation savings fund at that account at that time. It was the copier fund. And it was just a savings account. There were two. So when the New Hampshire Library Trustees started doing work as to how to financially account for your money by RSAs, anything that came in for copier money, book fine money, all of that had to go in a non-lapsing savings account. So that's what you have. You have building, you have non-lapsing. So then I took the copier fund, which is now non-lapsing, put it into non-lapsing, and then I took and put the copier fund, just renamed it donation fund. So $20 donation goes there.
But before that, it all went into a building fund
No,
together.
no. The building fund stayed at $30,000 and then I put in the donation from Liggett because we had no donation fund at that point. So it went in there. The $7 that was in the fund drive, which to me is building fund drive, went in that account. And then after that, the Liggett donation went in there. But after that, it pretty much stayed there, earned interest, all of that together. And then when it came time to do septic and well, that money was taken out for the design. Because the Patterson Trust, suddenly we had a chance to buy the property. The Patterson Trust put the money in to buy that piece of property. They probably never should have done it. But anyway, they put the money in to buy that property. So that let us have enough space. When we talked with Tony Newton to figure out how much land to actually buy from him, I told the septic designer, we need to know how much land we need to buy. So please design a well and a septic there. How much do we need? They came up with 0.11 acres, went before the planning board and found out that we had to leave an acre for that property because it's town, whatever this area is called. So it backed us back to 0.9 acres, which is still enough for the well placement legally and the septic design. And the septic design was done for the architectural plans that were a connecting ramp, a bathroom, room, and a small meeting room for like 8 to 10 people. That's what that was designed for, and that's what that money went for. So after that, that account again was used partially for exploring. No, because then the Callahan money came. There was a $10,000 donation from Callahan that was for that building. So I probably should not be treasurer anymore because I just put it in building fund.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, and that was my
Nobody's-
question, was
yes.
all the donations went together?
They all
so
went
there's no way to
together.
track
Yeah,
of
and I,
what
Well,
was
I
there
do
for
track
who, for
them.
what, for.
I do track them because I have, some of the money was to pay for all of the lawyer fees and architect fees and the engineering fees, because
And where did that come from, though?
that came, some of it came from the appropriation that we had from the town, and some of it came from that building fund. I have that all written down somewhere, it's at my house,
so
Yeah, I think
but it
you
shows
gave us
just
last
exactly,
the question, the
I
only
sent that
question
to
could
you
be,
too.
was
I
it-
sent
is-
that to Brian, just exactly where all the money was spent and where it came
Yeah, it
from.
was all
Kathy.
broken down.
As far as you know, your funds have been audited.
Every year.
No one ever said, oh, you have to put separate name donations in separate
No,
accounts
no.
and account for their
No.
their expenditures
No.
separately.
And it's all, it's
Thank you,
in the
that
town,
was
yeah, it's
really-
in the town report.
Okay.
It's all itemized in the town
Okay, good.
report, so.
So you're good. You're
You
doing
think? Yes,
things
you're
right.
fine.
So, okay, okay.
Not sure.
No, you're fine, really, okay.
Okay, now we're down to the questions.
So those are just things to think about, and we can table that. I just wanted to put together some thoughts so we got some direction.
Now you have Alicia.
Now I want to recognize Alicia.
Thank you, Laura. I guess maybe I just don't understand, but my opinion is, take it for what it's worth, is that you don't need lawyers to make this decision. You don't need to go back to the charitable trust to figure out what to do. It's very clear that Peggy Mayette made her donation in 2020 when there was no other library. You can say all you want that she was asked in a meeting and she said it can go to any library. Do you have minutes that prove that she said that? The
That's why
answer is
she's
no.
saying hearsay.
That's right, it's hearsay. So why spend the town's money, not to mention your own personal time? You're gonna hold up Mr. Mayette. Why can't you guys just make the decision yourself? You
Can I
don't
answer
have to
that?
get a lawyer
But how
for it.
much do we have to pay back? Do we have to pay all of it,
Okay, so
minus what's been
She's
spent?
given her comments.
Okay.
Thank you for your comments, Alicia, and we appreciate it.
I can address your questions if you'd like.
I-
I just need clarification.
So,
We'll
yeah,
have it
I don't
This
think
one.
you're really asking, those were rhetorical questions, where they're not, because you've already heard our
Me?
answers. Yes.
No,
You've already
I
heard
would love
our-
to hear you guys
Well,
say that you will not vote
we
on it.
just-
Make it public that
We
you won't
just,
vote on it.
so, one, you,
Because you don't like the answer, that's why, Laura.
no,
That's
darling,
why. Yes,
we
it
already
is.
told you
You could do the
before.
right thing right now and give that money
Okay,
back.
that's, you
don't
are
want to.
out of order, we're not talking
Spend the
about
money on a
people
lawyer
doing the right
instead.
thing, you are out of order.
Yeah.
Marie, sounded like you'd like to say
My
something.
answer to Alicia's question, the reason why it would probably be more beneficial for the Mayette Trust to go through a lawyer, to go through charitable trust, to go through, is because if there's a vote, Brian's not gonna use money back.
Oh, because
So
you
I
know
think,
already that two people
I
voted
would,
against it.
I
Of
think
course.
it would be 2 against 1.
And I would give
And I
you,
think it would be more appropriate to go through
But
more
that's-
legal channels.
Let
well,
me
we're
just-
not, so just a minute, Mary, I'd be glad to recognize you.
This is
I
too simple.
disagree with Marie on this. The reason we're going to the trust and the reason we would bring in the town attorney if necessary is because we want the correct ruling on this. We don't want to vote. We don't want it to be just the trustees and we vote. That's why we made the motion previously to go through the proper channels to get the appropriate answer. And if their answer is give the money back, we are not going to go to the lawyer to fight it. We're going to say, here's your money back, right? If that's what they say, okay? So it's not true that we are trying to just keep the money no matter what.
Let me just
Yeah.
make a point, and I've been thinking about this since the June meeting. When I left in June, I assumed that what you wanted to have happen was for the $30,000 to be returned to the Stoll, not to your family, because that won't happen. The check was made out to the town of Cornish for the library. So the question is, which library? Not the Mayette Trust. It's not gonna go back to you. And I can't, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, you're not a lawyer, but I've been working for nonprofits for about 20 years, and I understand the trust division, I understand how donations work. The check says, because there was no letter, remember I asked that question, was there a document that came with that check? Because generally, when a check is that size, there'll be a document. Well, there isn't. The check is the document, and it says for the library. So like I said, the only question that I could see might exist is, which library?
In 2020, there was only one
There
library.
was only one library.
That's pretty evident.
So then you could say that the money should have stayed right here, which apparently some of it did, because they were doing engineering studies and they were doing,
Right, $2,500 for the well, and that
right,
was
all of that.
focused on
But
here.
it's not gonna go back to you. And I can't imagine the New Hampshire Charitable Trust Division saying, give it back to the Mayette family. It's going to stay with the library.
Well, that is
So-
what we want. We want the money back because half of it has already been squandered and misused.
Well,
Things that my mother did not want.
right, I understand that
That's
that's how you feel, right, but it won't
So
ever
we
come
want the
back
other
to you.
15 back. That was our original request, was to have the remaining 15
The request
refunded
is-
before that gets wasted too.
Well, I go back to the check that your mother wrote, and what does it
It
say?
says for the library,
Correct.
and there was only one library.
It's a
There's
library.
really
Then it
still
would
only
stay
one
here.
library, there's a potential library. I mean, to me, like, sure, you know, that might eventually become a library. But right now, this is the library.
Correct.
And my obligation is to, I mean, the library could be in a room above your garage, Marilyn. That would be my obligation, to take care of the room above your garage.
Right, and all of that's irrelevant. The point being, the money is not gonna go back to you. It will maybe stay here. If they put a septic system in, if they put a well in, it could be used there. But the Charitable Trust Division, I'm not a lawyer, but I've been around the
They've
block.
already been contacted and had all the information, and we've heard what they came back with.
Well, I think that it sounds like there's some confusion at the Charitable Trust Division. It's pretty simple. It's
Well,
pretty
I've been in
simple.
contact with them, and
Yeah.
So we will,
they know all
Yeah.
the details.
so thank you for your comments, and we understand that you have a different opinion, but we will try to work with
Well, I
them
think
to the best of our ability.
As trustees, we're leaving ourselves, if we don't get a legal opinion on this from the New Hampshire Charitable Trust and/or, in other words, they said meet with the town lawyer. That was their recommendation, that they would meet with the town lawyer to solve the problem. If, as trustees, to me, if we don't follow their recommendation, we're leaving ourselves wide open as trustees for a lawsuit. Or
It's
the
not
town
just-
for a
It's
lawsuit.
also setting a very bad precedent at the same time. You know, like it's okay to just ignore like a professional's
Yeah.
recommendation to do A, B, and C in order to make an educated decision. So it's sort of just
I
setting
don't
that
feel
precedent
comfortable
for-
making the
Okay,
decision
opening
that, I
doors
know
there.
where Alicia's coming from, that she doesn't want to spend more money, but I think as trustees, we have the duty to find out what we did wrong, if we did, how it can be corrected legally, and solve that way. And then if you have, again, if it's gonna cost you a little bit of money, then that money is worth spending to have a legal answer.
Okay. I think we've gone
Yeah.
to the bottom of this stuff. Shall we move on?
May I say one thing?
Sure.
Well, I
It's
haven't
about the
spoken
hearsay
on this
section.
really yet, so I'm still waiting for that.
I'm sorry?
I haven't really even spoken to all this yet, so I'm still waiting
I'm
for
sorry,
that.
did you want to speak? Go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, let's let Marie finish first and then go ahead.
I was just discussing that you brought up hearsay a few times, and pretty much everybody sitting in this room knows my opinion on hearsay, and I don't think any of it should be taken into consideration ever. That's all I have to say about that.
Okay, Brian?
Okay. First of all, there's a lot of notes here that I've been taking on stuff, and I'll try to hit the things that I can remember. But first and foremost in my mind is, I think you're Laura, being very disingenuous in trying to say that my mother supported in any way the new building.
We're not listening to any personal attacks on anyone, calling me disingenuous.
You what?
We are not taking personal attacks. You may not call me disingenuous. If you want to speak to a fact, speak
Well, I
to
have
a
a fact
fact.
right here for you. This is a sign. I meant to actually bring the sign. I forgot. But my mother's 92 years old, and this is a picture of a sign that she put on her lawn in March of 2022, expressing
So if-
her strong.
If you would like to
Well,
present
this has
that
already
to
been sent to the
the
CTU.
trust, that's fine then. That's all we
All
need
this
then. Thank
evidence
you
has
for
been
that.
sent to the CTU.
Yep.
That sign, I actually still have the sign itself. I meant to bring it and I forgot.
But again,
We don't know
you
who
have a
made the
picture of the
sign.
sign, we have
don't know
no
who made the
proof.
sign.
You don't know what?
We do not know who made the sign.
Oh, come on.
I mean, you say she made it, but you also said
I
she
drove by it a
supported
bunch of
it,
times.
and
I
we
was
have
sitting
other
there.
people who said they didn't. So it's hearsay. That's
She
why.
called me and asked me to bring over a Save the Stoll sign, and I brought one over and put it on our lawn. That's not hearsay, that's fact.
Well, it will be for the trust.
Well, I can go and testify in front of everybody.
You're welcome to.
And
You're
I can
welcome
tell
to.
you-
And if you do, and if they agree with your evidence of the sign and her statement, then the money, as Marilyn says, will likely be used to make repairs to the stole. But it won't be given back to the trust. But I don't know that. That's their ruling to make, so we'll find out. And that's why we need to go to them to make the ruling, so it's not us making the ruling. You understand that? We're not gonna make this ruling whether the trust gets the funds back or whether they go to this building or the other building. It's it's the trust that's gonna make that ruling. Okay, not us. All right, can we
what
move on
trust
from
is going to
this?
make the decision?
New
New
Hampshire
Hampshire
Charitable.
Charitable Trust.
Charitable
Charitable
trust.
Trust Unit.
That's right, under the Attorney General's office, which operates out of the Attorney General's
Well, I
office.
can assure you that when I came for this, I just didn't want the rest of the money squandered. And I asked for low-key, just return what's left or return what's spent, whichever way you want to look at it. But I can assure you that if I have to, and I haven't got a lawyer yet, but if I have to get one, we're going for all of it. The whole 30,000.
So you wouldn't
minus the
accept the
250,
New Hampshire
2,500.
Charitable Trust's ruling, is that what you're saying?
What?
You won't accept the ruling by the New Hampshire Charitable Trust, that you will sue, is what you're informing us. So thank you for that information. Did you want to say something?
Let me see if I can gather my thoughts. This is all shocking to me. I didn't know anything about this. My reaction to what I'm hearing is you need to much better control of your bank accounts. It just seems like you have.
Thank you. So we had a control by the audit. We had Kathy work with the auditor just last year to make sure that she was doing everything
Okay,
correctly.
well, that's wonderful.
So thank you for that advice.
Okay, I'm not done. It's.
As long as we're not making personal attacks
I'm not
on
making
Kathy,
personal
okay?
I'm not making.
All right, so
For
let's,
goodness sakes. I just wanted to say, how much money, I just feel like, how much money has the CCI or whatever it's called raised for this new library? Apparently it's a lot. And in the name of trying to just get along, $30,000 or $15,000 is nothing, since clearly there is a misunderstanding. And wouldn't you rather have half of the town like you a little bit more?
so thank you, but we're not making our decision on making people like us. We're making our
Well,
decision
that's unfortunate.
based on what's fair according to the New Hampshire Charitable Trust. Thank you for your comments. All right, I'm going to declare this adjustment item over. And our next one is an update on the status of the select board's bids. And as I recall from the minutes, there were to be 3 bids on both. Do you have any information? Because I contacted Dylan, the chair of the select board, 3 days ago, and he said he didn't have any information yet.
I asked Mary last week, and I guess they put the $300 towards whatever was owed. That's what Mary said, that the Board of Selectmen voted on putting the $300 that was owed to register with the state for the septic.
That, she
The Dombrowski.
sent the trustees the bill, and I believe what happened is The plans had not ever been filed with the state. As I've said in previous minutes, if you file them, you have 5 years to build it. So they were not filed. So
Right.
she sent me that bill and I said, wait a minute, the select board is the one that owes this bill, not the trustees. They're the ones that are handling this. So that's what that
The
$300.
It was for the registration with the state.
Yes.
But I believe, you up on minutes? You look like somebody up on minutes.
You talking about?
Yeah.
Well, they
Do
don't
you give
post
the
them.
minutes?
They don't
They don't,
post them.
okay.
Unless
Yeah, they're
you-
all in the
unless-
binder. You have
Yeah,
to go
well,
down
I
and
have to
look
go
at the
down to
binder.
the
You
office.
You've got to wait 2 or
Anybody
3
know?
months for them to get posted.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's a
so
little slow.
the agenda item is actually after you all met with them.
Right, we gave them
Yes.
a list of designers.
As far as we know, no bids have come in, so no movement is made on
I
it.
don't believe so. I
just
don't
was
know,
at
they
the
don't
select
tell
board's
us.
office, and they said they have 2 bids on the well, and they're expecting bids on the septic from local people.
Thank you, Alicia.
They have not communicated anything with
No.
us as trustees.
And we've
And they
asked,
should,
anything
and they
and
should.
we've asked the chair of the select board.
One would think.
So thank you, we'll follow up on
You
that.
said 2
Appreciate
on the well and
information.
1 on septic?
No, none on septic,
None.
2 on the well. I was just there,
Thank you.
5:45.
Okay,
I
so
think
that's
they
a-
started doing the well bids because
They could.
they could, whereas they needed the $300 in order to put it out to bid for the septic, so hopefully that
Okay,
happens
so we're still
soon.
waiting for that.
Mhm.
All right, preparation for the joint meeting with the select board to review the library plans. I don't know how much preparation you all feel we need. We saw the presentation. Ingrid is going to come and present. The chair of the select board had asked that it be conducted in a manner similar, as a working meeting, similar to what we did when we held our meeting.
Is that they agreed to the 21st?
Yes, yes, so we're on for the 21st at the town offices at 6:30. And Kathy, could you do the joint warning as you always do?
No, I just post notices here and on that bulletin board. I do not contact Heidi,
I'll contact Heidi.
and I do not put it in
Connect
Connect Cornish,
I'll put it Connect Cornish and contact Heidi so that that's.
town office, 6
Any-
o'clock.
Any other thing that we need to discuss prior to that about that presentation?
I have a
No,
question about that
yes. Oh,
when the chair's ready.
Okay, but was that a no from you?
yeah, I think it's just gonna be the same,
Okay. Question, Alicia?
maybe.
So I'm hearing sort of something that's happening in town that sort of starts to be redundant, which is we're having a work meeting, and during those work meetings, I've been to, on the 21st, I've been to 3 of them, where work meetings are now being thought of and being told to people that no one can talk.
That's
They're
not
they're just
coming from the
well,
trustees.
I've heard it from here twice, I've just heard it again the other day. When you have a work meeting, I get you want to get work done, but there's sort of a sentiment starting in town where work meetings are becoming a place where the public cannot talk.
That was not the trustees' choice. That
Okay,
came,
so this
that,
meeting, people will be able to speak publicly and ask
No.
questions?
the
No.
select,
I don't,
By the
I
request of
think
the
they're gonna
select
warn it
board,
as a work meeting.
it's a working meeting.
So will there be public comment or not?
No, there will not be public comment.
Okay.
The
so
that's the
make sure that goes in
selectment,
the
that's
paper.
the select board choice.
And
That
to
is,
be
I
clear,
really like to stir the pot.
No, I do not.
Yes,
What
all right,
I
let's
like,
not
I
have
like
any
public
personal
meetings to be public,
comments.
Marilyn.
Let's not have any public personal comments against, okay, please.
Goodness sakes.
So please, so the issue for this meeting specifically is very narrow in the content, okay? It's just, are the plans, the question is only, are the plans consistent with the plans presented at the town meeting? And it's added electrical work, it's a little fill-in with, more specifics on
Yeah,
what
but wouldn't
was
it be great if
where.
the public could ask questions about their new library that's going to be a public building? But
That's
no, you don't want
that's
them
not
to
the
ask
question
questions.
that's being discussed at the meeting. No, it's not the question being discussed at the meeting.
was it, the meeting that the trustees had here was a public meeting where comments were made. All that is happening is that that same information is being presented, I think, by the trustees and Ingrid to the select board.
At the last meeting, where we confirmed the plans. We did a working agenda, and we did not ask for comments from the public on it.
But I mean, when we had the meeting with,
The very first one
Okay.
about the well and septic, is that what you're talking about?
no, when we had the meeting with Ingrid where she presented the plans, there
That
were,
was a work meeting.
there were questions.
Afterwards.
Yes.
We invited the public to speak with Ingrid afterwards with any questions, but it was not part of the official meeting. The
Presentation.
meeting was adjourned before that, and then Ingrid was glad to take questions. Colleen was there, Keith were there, they were all there to talk, the public could talk to them with their questions. Because this is, so we are fulfilling our duty
So
as
perhaps
stated
at the end of
in the
that
warrant.
meeting, it would be open after the meeting to talk with the architect.
Well, I guess I was hoping that you'd have public meetings where other people could hear other people's questions, you know, like Marilyn could have asked a question and then I would have benefited from hearing from about it instead of mulling around. Public meetings are meant to be public, I thought, but.
It is public, it's open to the public, everyone can attend.
No, I mean during your public session as trustees.
So, so that's taking care of that. The CCIF night, emailed Colleen and says we posted on our website. So there's a July report that's already on
the
the
website.
CCI website, and it talks about how much money is coming in, the community events held at the building, etc. So I refer you to that for the CCI update. New business, I think if you allow me, I've got just one topic for new business, and you all may have some others, but we were asked by the New Hampshire Library Trustee Association if there were any topics we wanted to see presenters for, or a keynote speak for at the next annual meeting.
I did not have any.
And I thought if we felt there was a need for some gap, maybe best practices handling funds.
Yeah, that would be good.
You know, so
But
maybe,
it's so far in the
so
future.
maybe, you know, maybe we could ask for that, because that would be, I mean, that's something brought up that it's not clear, so that we could, if we're doing everything right, we'd be able to better respond to.
91A's already been covered. They did that last year, correct? Wasn't that a?
Yeah,
that
they
was
do
a
that
fund
every
last
year.
They do it every year. Yeah, so,
How to manage your money.
Yeah, or
Had
just,
one this
yeah,
past year on that.
planning fund.
I didn't.
But maybe
I didn't
specifically donation funds, what's the best way to account for donation funds, and also to be able to report back their expenditures to the donors?
I mean, it may have been better if the treasurer and the trustees of the trust funds, if that money had gone to them to manage.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I think it would
Not
just
to
be
give
the
us
same
money.
situation.
It would have helped now, but.
Holy crap.
and, yeah, how do you decide how much of that balance, because there's a percentage of the other funds that are in there.
But any other topics or things that you think we?
No, but we have some time to come up with stuff. It's not until next spring.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
I think we should just.
Any
keep that
other
open.
any other new business?
I got nothing.
I don't have any. Okay. We have allowed citizens to comment as we went along, but we do also have a place. If there's any other topic that has not been discussed for which citizens would like to make comments, you're most welcome to.
No?
No.
Oh, you look like you were getting warmed up.
I couldn't hear
I
you.
said you looked like you were getting warmed up.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I, for starters, never really got to finish most of the things that I was going to say before I got cut off. In particular, about your contacts with the CTU.
CTU,
It's charitable trust.
Charitable
Trust
trust
unit.
unit.
the New Hampshire Charitable Trust.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It's my understanding that the last time, at the June meeting, you said you were going to contact them, and it was only over a month later, and only after I had gone to the town treasurer and asked her to contact them because you wouldn't do it, that you finally did do it.
I'm
that
sorry.
correct?
No, that's not correct. it took them a long time to get back to me. In the
When did you
interim,
contact them?
I don't remember the date, but I think, do you all remember, because I sent you that email?
I do know that you originally tried to contact them and the woman who worked there was gone, had retired.
Diane Quinlan had gone.
Yeah, she was gone, so after that, I don't really
So
know.
we composed an email and sent it in, and then we got,
You said
It
you
took
contacted
at
them by
least-
email?
yeah, it took at least, because that was the contact information I had. I sent it to Diane Quinlan, who was the person. And then sometime later, I got a response from the person who works with the person who replaced her, saying she wasn't there anymore, and that I should send the information, or she would forward the information, I don't remember which, to the new person. And then a couple more weeks went by, and then she contacted me again to say, what about, she had one question for me, and I answered that question, and then it was July 31st when we got the reply. So no, we did do it, and we did do it. In fact, I'm sure I did it before I left for Alaska, and that was at the end of that month.
And you
The
came back with
27th.
pneumonia.
And then I came back with pneumonia.
Several days ago, I sent the board a request for copies of all the correspondence between the trustees and the CTU. All I got back from you was their statement.
Right.
Your contacts to them are also part of the public record. And I asked you for them, and I did not get a response from you.
I'm
to
sorry,
that request.
I may not have read it correctly, but I thought you were asking for the response, which I gave
No,
you.
I said
And the other part
to
of
and
that,
from.
well, I'm just telling you what I understood. I'm not doubting that you did that. I'll go back and review it. And if there are public records, I'll be glad to send them to you. Okay?
Yes.
The one question we had, that I had about that, was you said what I thought you said was you wanted to see the attachments.
Yeah.
And the attachments were already in evidence, so I didn't want, you'd already seen those. The only one that was not in evidence was the letter from the attorney that was referenced.
Michael
And-
first.
Michael first, and I was under the impression
That
that
was
it
me.
was clarified here that he was acting as our attorney, which would have made it confidential, which was clarified here. It's not, that correspondent is not from the trustees, it's from a different group to the charitable trust.
That's where the charitable trust is looking at the wrong information, because they're looking at the request that Michael made for what to do for this building when it is no longer alive, or how do we undo the donation with a cypre, and how do we possibly change the designation for the $10,000 will money with a cypre. That's what that letter refers to. It has nothing to do with your request for return of the money and what happened to that donation. They're two separate things that the trust seems to have, when they switch people, didn't really pay an awful lot of attention. So that's where that's coming from. That's the attachment they're talking about.
Okay.
And there's a copy of that letter in the trustee files, the 3-ring binder. If you-
Okay. So I would like copies, reiterate that, I would like copies of correspondence to and from the library trustees and the CTU,
Sure.
past and present future.
I'll review your email and give you the documents you requested.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, any other comments? Okay, hearing none, next meeting. So our next meeting is the joint meeting on the 21st. Do we want to schedule another trustee meeting, or do we want to wait and see how it
comes out.
How it
and
comes
you
out and
contact and ask New Hampshire New Hampshire Municipal Association, and then the trust meet with them. So we all meet with them
Yeah,
somehow.
so our next meeting will probably be a joint meeting with them, either
With the trust.
by Zoom,
With
by Zoom
Charitable Trust, correct.
or having their
Yeah.
representative come here, which I would doubt. I don't know how they operate. We'll have to find out. Okay, so TBD on the next meeting.
Okay.
All right. Seeing no further business to come before the trustees, I declare this meeting adjourned at 7:17 p.m. Again, thank you all for coming.